If we take all of the YouTube clickbait, titles, thumbnails, and set them aside for a second, there is one piece of college essay writing advice that I will live and die by. In order to write better college essays, you need to read better college essays. Before we dive into this honestly incredible UPenn essay, just take 1 second to think about that. What is the number one problem that students face when they're writing college essays? Originality, uniqueness, creativity. And the number one pitfall of writing college essays? Being cliche, uninspired, not knowing how to come up with a good hook or closing or body that just ties the essay together like a little bouquet. The solution to all of these is to read higher quality essays. But when I take a link or a resource and I put it in the description, YouTube analytics shows me that only maybe on a good video, 2% of people go on to click the link. So instead of only having 2% of you guys get the benefit of doing this, I thought we could make things a lot easier by just having me go ahead and pick out the best college essays that I read in my free time so that both of us can take a look at them, learn something from them, and then hopefully if you really like them, you guys can incorporate the things that we learned from this into your own essays. Let's get straight into this. So this particular college essay was written for the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. So if you guys don't know, Wharton is the business school. Like, if you go to any online rating, Wharton will always consistently be in the top 3. It's generally regarded as the best business school in the country. I know a lot of you guys watching this are also interested in like the big name finance careers, right? Getting into investment banking, becoming a quant, going to a top business school like this or Stern. That all starts with writing a strong essay. So why don't we go ahead and just study what the student did, see what worked for them. Box of Chocolates by Alex. Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. Every Sunday morning, the local Starbucks plays host to what my mom likes to call mother-son bonding time. This Sunday is no different. My mom and I sit down with our regular chai latte and caramel frappuccino and absorb the aroma of the coffee beans and the gentle rays of the winter sun. So Alex, what are we gonna do for your dad's 50th birthday? When my mom asks a question about upcoming plans, she doesn't expect to answer. She already has something in mind. Many years ago, my mom started a family tradition of making gifts personal. Poems, songs, skits. At first, I didn't understand why we were wasting so much time when we could just buy a gift card from the local mall. But my outlook changed when I turned 12. For my birthday, my parents gave me a poster, a product of their many hours on Photoshop. With long hair, sideburns, and a slim suit, I had become the 5th member of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road. Every morning when I wake up, this poster opposite my bed is the first thing I see, and I start the day off with a smile. Since then, I've needed little persuasion to start working on the next gift project. Actually, I even look forward to these times, when my parents find their inner children, and the trivial worries of life simply whisk away. My dad, both figuratively and literally, ditches his office suit in proper manners and dons a red woman's wig and high heels to practice a scene. My mom stops scolding my sister and me and joins us in our ruckus, doing the jitterbug and blowing on a harmonica. These are the moments of my family when there are no children or adults, just 4 people who give in to their creative urges. How about throwing dad a party and making him a movie? My mom asks as I use my straw to fish for any remaining coffee at the bottom of the cup. Just think of a movie you like and we'll parody it. A big fan of the life is like a box of chocolates theory, I suggest my favorite movie, Forrest Gump. She smiles. Okay, but only if you play Forrest. When we come home, my mom takes down a box, heavy with dust of age, scribbled with messy Russian letterings. I peer over her shoulder as she empties onto the living room floor the contents. My dad's life story in black and white. Within minutes, I am completely immersed in the photographs I've never seen before. As I gape at a picture of a bearded teenager laughing with his friends, I do a double take. Is this the same clean-shaven man who helped me to prove the theorem that all right angles are congruent and always tells me to tuck in my shirt? I shake my head in disbelief as I thumb through some pictures of my dad and his friends with guitars in the forest singing songs around a campfire. My mom explains that the Soviet government didn't approve of these songs, so the woods became their only refuge. I am now starting to understand why my dad, limited in what he could sing or say as a youth, pushes my sister and me to ask probing questions, survey news from all sides of the political spectrum, and watch controversial movies. Looking down at one of the pictures of my dad in the forest, it just hits me. The movie should be called Forest Guy. With each picture comes its own story, and collectively, they create a collage of my dad's past that I had never known. But even more surprises await me as I watch documentaries about Russian leaders in the 20th century. To truly parody Forrest Gump, some great communist leaders must be a part of Forrest Guy's life, just as Kennedy and Nixon were a part of Forrest Gump's. Coming up with bizarre ideas of how my dad met the communist leaders is the most entertaining part of our movie making. My stomach throbs with laughter as I conceive the impossible notion of my dad bullying Gorbachev into to destroying the Berlin Wall. Along with Russian history, I also discover part of my family's. While discussing the horrors of Stalin's reign with my mom, I'm shocked to hear that my father was born in exile, and one of his uncles died in Stalin's concentration camp for joking about communists. It's hard to believe that someone can be killed for cracking a joke, when cracking a safe will only get you a few years in jail. Luckily, when I'm joking about Lenin and Stalin in my film, my only worry is crowd response to it. It is the day of the party, and as I look around at the apprehensive crowd, my instincts yell, "Run, Alex, run!" Soon, the lights dim and my anxiety grows. I'm watching the viewers as intensely as they are watching the screen. As each joke is met with uproarious laughter and table slapping, my breaths become calmer and my fingers stop shaking. 25 minutes later, I hear the long-awaited ovation. I gaze from table to table at the sea of smiles, but one face catches my attention. It is my dad's, showing complete disbelief that something so grandiose could be done about him and for him. All these weeks, I had been so focused on the guests' reactions that I never thought about my dad's. Although he is trying hard to contain himself, I see a tear sneak from the side of his eye. It is the first time I've seen my dad cry. Yes, life is a box of chocolates. Some are delicious, some too bitter for your taste, but the best are like the one I picked that day. They seem like any other chocolate, but when you bite into them, they surprise you with an unexpected flavor. If I had to summarize the essay in 2 words, bro cooked. I think we would all agree that the ending of this essay, especially these couple sentences here, is just exquisite, right? It's the way that we use this life is like a box of chocolates metaphor, the way that Alex uses it, to go on to express how his dad's emotions are affecting him, what were the results of putting together this entire movie. A lot of people might have seen the whole Forrest Gump trend, right? Maybe even wrote about this in their own essay. But in the very last sentence, if it comes across cliche, or in a way that like a lot of general high schoolers would write about it, just trying to force it, jam it in there so that they could attempt something like this. If it comes off not feeling natural, it really kills the vibe as the essay wraps up. You want to make sure that the essay doesn't just start off on a good note, but ends in a way that invokes some kind of emotion. I usually like to think of essays going like one of 2 ways. Either you end on like that clever, humorous, funny note, or you end on more of like an emotional, thought out kind of conclusion that we see here. Now, circling back to the beginning and some of the other paragraphs in this essay, I think there are a ton of themes here that we can actually go ahead and talk about in more depth. Let's take a look at this like second sentence here, right? My mom and I sit down with our regular chai latte and caramel frappuccino and absorb the aroma of the coffee beans and the gentle rays of the winter sun. A mistake that I've seen in a lot of essays that I read is that people go like one of 2 directions when they're using description. Either they just don't bother using it at all, they're just like whatever, it's not worth it. Or they try to play off of this a little too much. Notice how this description is just 1 sentence in the essay, and then it doesn't really occur a ton later on. The issue that you run into when you continue to have these like heavily descriptive sentences in the body of the essay is you only get 650 words. You don't want your description to overpower the actual story or plotline. You want those descriptive sentences, or the space you have for those, to go more towards building on like the actual themes or giving it an interesting detail or having a joke. But as you're starting off the essay, this really showcases like your writing prowess. It really sets the scene in a way that immerses the reader. I'm realizing as I'm giving this explanation, I'm sounding a little bit like probably you're a high school English teacher just glazing this dude's essay, but I genuinely believe that like if you notice these little details in the essay and you like them and you write them down, when you're eventually writing your own essay, if you have a little notes file of like all the little sentences and bits that you liked out of other college essays, you can easily just feel free to take those and integrate them straight into your own story. A lot of people who come to me for college essay writing advice or submit their essay on my website to get like a review, one of the biggest things that they ask is, Pratik, I feel like my essay is good, but how do I make it more creative? How do I give it that extra spark or bring out a theme? It's by taking notes on these types of things and incorporating them. And there's a couple more things here that we can look at. If we just scroll down here to like the like 4th or 5th paragraph, this paragraph is honestly like pivotal, like the crux of the entire essay, because there's one major pitfall, if we're gonna like switch sides here, that this essay does tend to run into. And it's the fact that when you write a college essay like this, which is focused so much on someone else, so for example, this essay is focused a lot on Alex's dad, you might run the risk of spending too much time talking about them and how good of a person they are, that you don't spend enough time talking about your own character and who you are. A lot of people decide to write college essays like these about their role model in their life, whether that's your mom or your dad or your uncle or your grandparents, but you can't make the entire essay focused on them, and what you need to do is incorporate what he does in this paragraph right here. Let's just look at this sentence. I am now starting to understand why my dad, limited in what he could sing or say as a youth, pushes my sister and me to ask probing questions, survey news from all sides of the political spectrum, and watch controversial controversial movies. When he writes this sentence in the essay, as an admissions officer, you're looking at this and thinking, okay, while he's still talking about his dad, he's talking about it through the context of himself. We can glean from this essay that Alex does all of these things. He asks probing questions, surveys the news, watches controversial movies. Where's he applying again? Where's he applying? UPenn, Wharton. All of these skills would be incredibly valuable if you wanted to come to this college, and it's something that the university is looking for. And then as we get into the next paragraph down here, we have more like background around here about his family heritage. Yes, it's still talking about his dad, but it gives us more context about where Alex comes from, what the background is. And this is a unique story, right? A lot of people might, rush to the comments and be like, oh, but I never had something crazy like this happen. You don't need to. Colleges are not expecting that you have anything ridiculous. Sure, if you have something unique or clever, like it could be fantastic for an essay, but just take the time to think about what you do have in your life. And it does not, I can't stress this enough, it does not have to be emotionally tear-jerking or be some kind of a hardship. Even if it's something kind of silly, something funny, something a little bit corny, all of these things could still play this exact same paragraph's role in your own essay. But you're not going to be able to incorporate a paragraph like that into your writing unless you take the time to plan for it, think about it, prepare for it ahead of time. No ChatGPT essay is going to be spitting out a paragraph like this that's going to elevate your writing to the next level. And I think there's one more exceptionally key moment in this essay, and it comes in this final paragraph here. If you had to summarize this entire essay in one paragraph, it would probably be something like, I put together a movie for my dad's birthday, and in the essay I explore that journey. Now notice how the actual movie part of the essay down here, right, in this highlighted area, is just the final paragraph. It's only a couple of sentences. The actual body of the essay, everything else up here that we're scrolling through, all of this is just description or build up, is what some people might say, but in reality, this is the actual essay. These paragraphs are what actually the college admissions officers are looking for because they showcase your thought, they showcase your backstory, they showcase the actual themes and motifs that you're trying to convey to the AO. This is why when you're writing an essay, you want to pick a moment or an experience that's really, really narrow and slim, because that description is the actual heart of the essay. The movie part of it itself is more so just to tie the story together, to have it make sense, to give some kind of a plot line to it. And this entire description, it helps wrap it up in a really, really pretty way. But it's not the point of the story. This is more like the appeal to emotion, the pathos. So when you're writing your own essays, the actionable here is to not just dive into the story writing part and put together this entire narrative about how you put together your dad's movie and you filmed it and you shot every scene. Those are all nice ideas to write onto paper. But once you have all your thoughts and ideas down in a Google document, make an outline actually planning out what are the important elements here. What are the parts that actually talk about your story and are not just about doing, but showing who you are. If you guys want me to review more college essays, I am more than happy to make this into a series where in addition to my normal videos, I post a video like this every week just exploring a brand new, creative, different essay. Some essays are like this, which are more conventional. Others are just completely out there. I saw an essay that was an entire murder mystery theme. Another one that's one of the funniest essays I've ever read. I would be more than happy to break those down with you guys too, so that you can also have a couple different approaches. Maybe when you're doing a supplemental, or you just want to have a couple different personal statement drafts. If you want me to personally review your college essays, college application, feel free to check out my website in the description. I usually get back to you within 20 to 48 hours for each of the reviews. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been your boy Pratik. Peace.